on the line Anthony Cumia of the Anthony Cumia Show. Anthony, you there?
Yes, I certainly am. Hi, everybody.
Hi, pal.
Hi, Anthony. Anthony is the unofficial fourth mic before we got a trucker to be unofficial fourth mic. I'm sure that's on the resume. We're hanging out with us.
Certainly.
So, it's good to have you here, Anthony. I don't know if everybody, I think most people know what's going on, but I don't know if everybody knows. So, Anthony is no longer with Sirius XM. They let him go. Why don't you tell everybody what happened, what the event that happened, and what followed that leading up to Sirius doing what they did?
Yeah, well, I was hanging out there in New York City. Decided I'd take a few pictures. I have a very nice camera. Figured, wee hours of the morning, Manhattan, kind of a good opportunity to snap a few pictures. And I did. And, people are wandering around. There's a lot going on. And then I went to take a picture of down this walkway with a young lady walking away from me underneath this scaffolding, kind of a nicely framed shot. And I guess she had super sensitive hearing and heard the shutter going off and turned around, ran at me, and called me a white mother effer.
You can say it on the. You can say it.
You can cuss.
Did you just hear the song we just played? You can say. You can say fuck.
Yeah, that's true. She actually said mother effer. She was very cordial.
Oh, well, she didn't want to get fined by the FCC.
Motherfucker. Yeah, and she was a black woman, and she started beating on my head. And I was trying to push her away, and she's like, "Don't touch me, don't touch me," and just a big scene. I didn't react in any way. I didn't hit her or react violently in any way whatsoever. And then I just reacted on Twitter later on. A few minutes later, actually. It was pretty quickly after. And I was pissed, very pissed.
Right.
So I voiced my anger and voiced some problems, I think, that are evident in certain societies. And that was, I guess, a problem, and I had to be fired from SiriusXM for that.
Well, the tweets...
you can't discuss these things
the
anymore,
tweets...
if you're a white male.
The tweets, what happened, they started, like you said, a few minutes afterwards, and they went on for a couple of days, and then right before the 4th of July, how did SiriusXM give you the news, Anthony?
It was an email. How else would you get fired from a job you've had for 10 years?
A tweet.
A tweet and 140 characters don't show up.
They retweeted you like Mr. Spacely. You're fired!
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
How ironic.
Yes. I read my facts. Yeah, so they threw me out of that place. It was ridiculous. I mean, honestly, I'd said much worse things on their very airwaves.
Well, I want to get to that in a second, but you touched over a couple of the details of what happened was this woman was beating on you, and you said 5 African American males actually were then all of a sudden appeared and were taking her
like
side.
Watching The Walking Dead out of nowhere, they just kind of came walking out of various vestibules and behind trash cans and just started like gathering around. They heard a ruckus.
Must have looked like the Thriller video.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, they started looking at the scene, seeing what was going on. And I wanted no part of having to deal with them.
Right.
Bad enough having this broad smacking me in the head. So, I was well aware of my surroundings. Put it that way.
So they were taking her side, in your opinion. That you definitely felt like there was no two ways about it. They had picked a side.
Yeah, it was kind of like a don't put your hands on her kind of a thing.
As she's beating on your head.
I hadn't.
Yes.
She was just yelling, "Don't touch me." I at that point was like, I go, screw this. I'm getting a cop.
Right.
I'm calling a cop. And she said, call one. I'll just say you were sexually harassing me.
Ugh.
Oh, really? Okay, so I can't win that way either. Great.
So now, when these guys are surrounding you, at any point were you afraid for your life or your safety?
Nah, I really didn't have any fear for my life at that point. I never thought she was going to inflict any real harm on me at that moment. There was not a moment where I felt that way. Not that during that event, it couldn't have changed at a moment's notice. But,
well, if you had
in hindsight and as it was happening, no, there was no moment where I was like, oh boy, I'm in real danger here.
Do you think if you had acted more aggressively instead of like just defending yourself, if you had swung back or tried to restrain her, do you think the situation would have gotten worse for you, more dangerous?
Yeah, I think at that point it would have escalated. I had no real need to do anything at that point because, like I said, I wasn't really in any danger at that point. So just to, hold off on the situation, and just let her go off until she's done or walks away or whatever. I wasn't going to start swinging.
And what time of day was this? This was early in the morning?
Oh yeah, it was like 4:30 a.m.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're out for a stroll that early,
all
are
the
you?
dregs of society come out into Times Square. In the daytime, people like to think it's like Disney these days, but it's getting worse and worse under De Blasio. But
yeah,
you mean you were
at night? It's still not the safest place to wander around. If
well, it's night.
You're a tourist.
Yeah. Plus, you get mugged by a cartoon character, not a wino.
Yeah, exactly. Elmo will come out and check you.
One of our listeners, Trucker Tom, was mentioning that your camera is more like the Hubble telescope with a memory card. Were you afraid to have that thing out at that hour?
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that I was taking creep shots. Oh, he's taking creep shots. Thinking, I'm doing upskirts with my cell phone or something. It's a giant camera. There wasn't any hiding it.
It's a giant skirt.
It sounds like a friggin' relay station clicking in. It's very loud, and it's a big camera made for really good photography, professional photography.
He loves that thing. He runs around like a Jap tourist with it. Yep.
Sure.
You're going to get fired from the internet, Joe. Stop that.
I've seen that camera. It's gigantic.
Yeah.
See, here's one of the most remarkable things I think about this. I don't know if everybody knows this, but Anthony is actually allowed to legally carry a gun in New York City, which is a hard license to get.
An expensive one, too.
And Anthony actually had a gun on him when he was being attacked. And I thought one of the most remarkable things you did, because I put myself in the situation, and I honestly don't know if I would have reacted as calmly as you did. You never reached for your weapon.
No, it wasn't even a thought at that point. It's like I said, my life, I never felt it was in danger. When you do carry a gun, there's a responsibility that goes along with it that is just one of the biggest responsibilities you can have in life. Walking around with a weapon that you know can do some grave damage, and you have to take it seriously. It's not a movie. You don't pull it out and point it at people and they run away, or pistol whip someone with it, or fire a warning shot in the air. That thing does not come out. No one knows you have it until you are attempting to save your own life by hopefully just injuring somebody, but the meaning of pulling your gun out and trying to save your life is to try to kill the other person.
Right.
But again, that situation is reserved for when you really do feel like your life is in imminent danger of being taken.
Anthony, how come you didn't file a police report?
I know so many cops over the years. Keith the cop is one of my best friends, and truth of the matter is, I've talked to cops over the years. I know a lot of the mindset and the day-to-day business that goes along. I'm not going to bother the police to tell them a girl hit me. There were no injuries. There was no blood, no bruising, nothing. This is something that happens in big cities, and that's it. You just walk away. It's over. It was done. I was mad that it happened. She was pissed to the point where she struck out and started hitting me. Mm-hmm. But once it was done, it's over. Why the fuck am I going to call a cop? As it was happening, I wish a cop would have been coming by because I'd have flagged him down at that point. But after it's done and she leaves and, it's over with, what am I going to do? Stand there? Officer, there was a girl here a little while ago and she was hitting me. It just doesn't. No reason to do it.
But do you wish
whatsoever?
But look, the way everything has gone down, you couldn't know this at the time. But like, if you could do it over, do you wish you would have filed that police report?
I don't know. I don't think it would have made any difference if I would have said, "Yeah, some chick was beating on my head over here." because I honestly don't think the problem was that at SiriusXM they didn't believe me that this happened. I mean, I think they believed that this did indeed happen. They just didn't like my reaction.
Well, that's
happened. And my reaction was, instead of being violent, I used words, angry words that people use when they get angry, and they didn't like that part of it. It's a no-win scenario. It's the Kobayashi Maru of 2014.
Did you think, though, that, like, we've talked on the air and off the air, your love of Twitter and everything, and I've gone to, because you get into Twitter feuds with people. And
open and honest on that thing.
What?
I love open and honest, like, dialogue.
But you do.
On Twitter, it's you only get 140 characters at a time, and you're trying to make a point, and you're having a reasonable debate with people on sensitive issues.
Yeah, but it's hard.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
But as you found out, it's really hard to get your point across in 140 characters, because people can interpret words without the voice and the intonation and context for what they were, as you found out, and you knew this going in. Did you ever think, though, that all these tweets could lead to you being released by Sirius?
Nah, I really didn't think so. I thought I'd be able to voice my opinion and anger and whatever on there without getting fired. Yeah, I was assaulted and I was pissed, so I wrote about it. Well, and if that gets you fired in this day and age from a company, we are in some serious shit.
Yeah, but we know we've talked about that, though. I mean, we talked about Imus and Rush and everything, and we're all on the same side that we don't feel broadcasters should be fired for these things, but we've all come to the realization that it could happen. Yeah, I mean, you knew it could happen.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that there are radio shows and even internet shows, satellite radio shows especially now, that are tiptoe around certain issues and words and subject matter, that right there tells you there's a problem, and it's not a good thing. Like, why should anyone have to worry that they're going to say something that will offend somebody to the point that their job is being threatened?
Well,
offending somebody is not a crime. It's not even painful, literally, to anybody. You're not really hurting anyone. You're opening up a discussion, and I think their response should be that they can have a dialogue with you in kind on Twitter or as a caller to a radio show or whatever. It does not mean that you should be able to take away somebody's job or reputation based solely on what they said. It's completely against what we're supposed to be doing in a civilized country. I thought an open dialogue would be a great response to what I said. If someone was against it or angry with what I said on Twitter, they have every right to speak up and give their side, call me an asshole, do whatever.
Right.
But to take away someone's job because of what they said, it's a bad place.
But we know what that's about.
No good could come of it.
We know what that's about. That's about the money. We've always talked about that.
But if I can interject something, it goes beyond that, because Anthony and I both have a mutual friend where comments that they tweeted, and they're not even in the business, somebody was trying to use to get them fired from their job.
Listen, I don't like that. We had this debate on the July 8th show.
Yeah.
I don't like where any of your stuff off the clock can affect your job. I'm consistent about that.
Right.
I thought what they did to Anthony was wrong.
Right.
But I'm just saying, from their point of view, and it's not a point of view I agree with, it's all about the money. The interesting thing about satellite radio is it's not really sponsorship-driven, advertising-driven like terrestrial radio.
Let me tell you it's about the money. If they kept me on, they would not have lost one subscriber.
No, that's true.
Nobody that was angry with me was a subscriber anyway.
Yeah.
And by nobody, maybe one or two people might have left. I don't know. I honestly don't even think one subscriber would have left because of what I tweeted. The fact of the matter is, since they did let me go, they lost thousands of subscriptions.
It's great.
And they lost a lot of their advertising revenue from the show because they paid for and wanted the entire show.
Right.
And now that they don't have that, advertisers have pulled out. So if it's about the money, they reacted in a way that made them lose money.
I agree.
So now you got to ask, what was the motivation to this? It couldn't have been money. They lost money. Is it their morality? Stop it. They got, Howard doing this. They just hired the guy from ESPN.
Well, actually, I saw that article.
I know what you're talking about. He was interpreted as to what he said in that violence against
Stephen
women
Smith
sometimes might be the woman's fault.
Hold on. Let me stop you. Let me stop you.
SiriusXM just hired him.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you there. I don't know if they hired him. That was This is Stephen Smith. He was talking about the Ray Rice issue. There was domestic abuse in the elevator, which nobody saw, but there was cameras where he dragged her out afterwards. And Stephen Smith went on, who's an ESPN, works for ESPN, said women got to stop provoking this. Yep. Now, Bob Raceman wrote an article. I know exactly what article Anthony's talking about.
Yeah.
Where they said SiriusXM just hired Stephen A. Smith, and he's going to work on Chris Mad Dog Russo's station. Now, the other day, yesterday, Stephen A. Smith was on the show that he's always on ESPN, First Take, apologizing. So I think he still works for ESPN. I think Raisman was wrong.
Yeah, I think he does work for ESPN, but I'm not sure if he's going to be working for Mad Dog Russo or not. But that's what I heard.
We'll find out
from everybody inside SiriusXM. So
maybe you're right.
That's what I'm going off of. But regardless, all right, put him aside. They lost money with firing me on both the revenue side from ads and subscriptions. So, what the hell is their motivation here? It made no sense. It was a knee-jerk reaction. No one was even clamoring for me to be fired at that point.
No.
They just saw it and thought, get rid of him.
Well,
I don't know what they thought they were heading off.
The tweets kind of led to this. And on the July 8th show that we did, we went through a lot of the tweets. And I pretty much said, these tweets, if you want to point to Anthony's just talking to this one person, this one attacker, like he claims, you can see that in there.
Yeah.
And if you want to find racism, you can find that in there if that's what you're looking for. If you come in with your opinion already made up without knowing anything about who Anthony is, you could form that opinion. However, there were a couple of tweets that I did want to ask you to clarify for people so they could know exactly what you meant. Because there were some where I looked at them like, I'm not sure what he means.
Yeah.
It leaves room.
Yeah. You said they aren't people. Who is they?
They are the people that act like animals on the street, that perpetrate violence against law-abiding citizens on a daily basis without any thought of consequence or repercussions. They just do these things. And this is the type of snap violence that I've seen in a lot of attacks. It's not based on anything. It's not based on any greedy need for money or robbery or I'm hungry or a want for comfort. It's just pure violence for the sake of violence. And that's who I'm talking about.
Now, you also tweeted, savage, violent animal fucks prey on white people. Easy targets.
Mm-hmm.
I got to ask you, can white people be savages?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There have been a lot of cases that I've talked about on the air and on Twitter where, white people have butchered people. I've been called out on that a lot of times where they go, well, why don't you call this guy a savage? I go, it's a crime. It's terrible. It's not savage. When someone, let's say, even bank robbery, they go in, hold a gun, take money, and run out. That's not a savage crime. When you're stomping a veteran of World War II's head in until he's dead, that's a savage crime.
Right.
Just because of a race doesn't make it savage or not savage. It's if you look at a crime and you look at the perpetrator and they thought nothing of hurting or killing another human being in such a violent fashion, that to me is savage behavior. And I will call it out as that regardless of the person's race. Now, like I pointed out, there's a problem in the black community with violence. It's been addressed by many black leaders over the years.
Well, you bring that up. You bring that up.
And reverends and community groups and whatnot have had silence the violence rallies and marches in various urban in the cities and projects and in black communities, we must silence the violence. We must teach our young people not to resort to violence when they're offended or disrespected. They must talk it out, not use guns. This is a problem that I didn't come up with out of my ass.
No, well, hold on.
Something that's been brought up. I then mentioned it, that there is indeed a violence problem.
Right.
In the black community. And it was interpreted as, by many people, especially black people, Anthony says all black people are violent. That is a immature, childlike interpretation of what I said.
Hold on, let me stop you right there. While I agree that there is this violence in the black community, there's violence in a lot of communities, not just the black community. Do you understand?
There is a disproportionate amount of violence in the black community as opposed to any other community in the United States.
I don't have the numbers on
for
that.
For the per capita percentage of the population.
I would argue that it has more to do with income than it does with race.
Well, then let us explain this. There are a higher number of people that are in poverty in the white community than there are in the black community.
That's true.
A higher number, not percentage, number.
Have you been to a Walmart on a Saturday, mister?
Where are these people in roving gangs like you see on these break-ins, these mass break-ins in these stores, these gang beatings where you see in the streets people just being stomped? Where are all these examples that we see so often in the black community? Why aren't they happening in these poor Appalachian white communities and down south and some of the what you would consider white trash areas? This just horrific violence. Why are we seeing it?
Because
Chicago every friggin' weekend, 50 shot, 30 shot, 14 killed, a dozen killed. Where is this happening?
It's the family
where
unit.
We can equate it in percentage or number-wise with any other ethnic makeup in this country.
All right, let's for argument's sake, because I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I really don't feel like. I mean, we had more. I'd go back and forth. Hold on, let me. I don't want to go back and forth with that. So say you're right. Say you're absolutely right. For argument's sake, you're absolutely right. There is more violence in the black community. Do you understand that even if you are right, they don't want to hear it from you? Do you understand why they would have that feeling?
Well, I can understand how they don't want to hear it from anybody.
Well, that's true. They don't.
The matter is, especially in this day and age of our black president and a lot of black leadership getting canonized by our president and Reverend Al Sharpton being legit, the truth of the matter is they're not addressing it. And then we hear this phony, we need an open, honest dialogue on race. And the second a person is open and honest and they are not black, you're called a racist. The racist word comes out.
Well, Anthony, you said, and this talks right, this is another one of your tweets, the switch to violence is immediate. No discussion, just violence. When will that be addressed? I think you're dead on right up until that point. Then you go, oh, right, never. Okay, fine. Then you go, slavery did it. Okay. I think a lot of people could say, all right, now he's not just talking about the violence in the black community. He's talking about all black people. What do you say to that?
No, because, again, slavery is used as an excuse for certain behavior in the black community. It's I think it's brought up a lot as an excuse.
It's the crutch.
I was using
I call it the crutch.
mocking the fact that it's used as an excuse for horrid behavior on some people's parts. I've heard it before. Oh, well, our people were enslaved for so many years that blah, blah, blah. This happens, that happens. Self-esteem is down. We can't get a job. Racism still permeates this, that, the other thing. It always goes back to, of course, slavery. So I was using that as a sarcastic nod to the fact that it's always coming up as an excuse. And it's not an excuse.
All right, well.
And there is, as there was that night, this jump to this violent behavior. We hear all the time about someone getting their foot stepped on, and instead of just saying, hey, say excuse me, asshole, or something,
right.
It's a gun comes out or a fist if you're lucky, and there's this jump to violence. This needs to be addressed, but it won't be.
All right, what about this one? This one you retweet, and this one kind of baffled me. Again, I know you a little bit. I mean, I've hung out with you and everything, so this is just me. I don't know you as well as Joe does. I don't think you hate black people. When
honestly, I'll be honest with you. I don't.
I know that.
It's ridiculous.
But I
honestly don't think like, oh, there's a black guy, or oh, there's a white guy, he's my friend. Oh, look, there's a black guy, and I get along with him, and he's my friend. And this guy, I don't know what he is, like I don't think that. If I'm hanging out at anywhere, a bar, my own house, whatever, and people there are cool and fun to hang out with, you could ask anyone that is hanging out here. I could give a fuck where they're from, what color they are, what they do. It doesn't matter to me.
And I believe you. I believe you.
And that's the problem.
But hold on.
I've been generalized for people to think it's every person. I'm addressing every person in a certain group when I mention a problem. Let's put it that way.
But the
truth of the matter is, I'm addressing the bigger picture, the larger issue and larger problem.
But this next tweet, this was the one.
Can I just interject something for here, because I've been sitting silent. Like, first of all,
that's part of the show.
I just want to say, number one, I've known Ant practically all my life, and it's true. He judges everybody for who they are.
Anthony's not on trial. I just want him to clarify
and also
for the people.
Another thing I want to bring up is you mentioned that basically the whole climate in the African American community is because of being poor. No, it's the lack of a family unit. The fathers, they don't know who their fathers are. There's the grandmother takes care of them.
And they'll tell you that goes back to slavery.
No, it's not. Doesn't go back to slavery.
You don't
but
know.
What it goes back to is that they have this gang mentality, because in a gang they feel like a family. When they're in the gang, they have this rogue sense of things. And
I'll be happy to have that debate with you guys. I'll be happy to have you guys. On another show.
I understand.
I'll be happy to have that debate.
But
we're not about that tonight.
I know, but we overstepped two important things I needed to say.
All right, listen. We've done shows at the compound where me and Ant have gone.
I understand.
I'll be happy to do that. We'd only have for a limited time.
We just overstepped the main important element that we did not discuss.
Listen, I just want Anthony. I want Anthony to clarify in his words so he can explain, and people can judge him for that. It's not what I think they mean. It's not what Joe thinks to me or Pip. It's what Anthony says, and people can take that. That's the point of this part. But there was this one tweet where I was baffled by this one a little bit. This was a retweet. You retweeted National Action. You said they said 50 years ago today, President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. 50 years later, and you responded, "How's that working out? Are you saying the civil right? So you're saying how's that working out?" And I read this and I'm like, is Anthony saying the Civil Rights Act was a mistake?
No, I'm not saying that. What I was saying is that there are problems with what that wrought on the country. Civil rights, of course, equal footing for people, no discrimination based on skin color. But when you start using the Civil Rights Act to perpetuate this victim mentality and the poverty that continues because you're putting people on the government till and not allowing them to get off, not giving them the opportunities to get off. There are certain aspects of the Civil Rights Bill and the Civil Rights Movement that have permanently damaged the, not permanently, but up to this point, and it had gotten worse in certain aspects over the years for the black community. They are now looked at by liberals as children that need to be cared for, and it's a horrible cycle that people are being put through, and a lot of that is based on what the civil rights movement did to take the aspect of treating people equally. Of course, that's what it was supposed to be about. Let's not discriminate. Hey, belly up to the old diner counter with me. We're using the same bathrooms. We have the same job and education opportunities. Fine. But the second it started turning into, you're black, you need extra money for doing no work because, well, you're probably not going to get a good job anyway. That's how we look at it. That is the problem, and that's the how's that working out aspect of what I tweeted.
Again, this is not the night where I'm going to go back and forth with you like we've done in the past, because this is really just about you getting the words out. So, all right, that
the truth of the matter, and to cover everything that I'm talking about now, as far as these tweets go, I'm not trying to explain away anything.
No, I know.
I wrote this. These were my words. And they can be interpreted any goddamn way anybody wants them to be interpreted.
Yeah.
I know what I meant when I wrote them. The important part is not so much what can be picked apart in these posts, but the fact that it was just my words being angry after I was assaulted. How I'm held to this high standard in that circumstance for stating how I felt at the time is an abomination to free speech and freedom of expression in this country.
I actually like this last tweet of yours. I was a big supporter of this one. It says, my vision was blurry, but because of the Affordable Care Act, I received quality medical attention in a timely manner. Thanks, President Obama.
I don't think I wrote
Oh, that's not yours? Oh. How did that get in there?
Right.
How did that get in there?
There's also a couple of things that you were misconstrued on. Davin also brought up a post somebody, I believe, tweeted. What was it, Coon on the Moon? Was something with the witch going over the moon?
Yeah, that was, no.
That was not you.
Tweet me
Right.
and add things on. You could see my stream. I had no racial epithets in there. I wasn't degrading anybody. I was speaking openly about what happened to me, and if I made any mistake, it was putting in social commentary at the same time as my own angry comments about this girl that assaulted me.
Well,
so
you bring up the girl.
In that essence, it could be taken the wrong way and mixed up by people that were looking at two conversations going on at the same time. But again, I make no excuses. I absolutely make no apologies, and I'm glad I'll be able to do a show that is free, open, unrestricted, uncensored, unedited. Anthony Cumia Show. It's on anthonycumia.com.
Mm-hmm.
Premieres Monday, August 4th. That's 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursdays. Yes.
Now, nobody's been able to find this woman, which I found a little surprising.
I think she's a hooker, quite honestly. I really think it's 4:30 in the morning. She was dressed pretty nicely,
right,
in a sexy little dress and heels and everything. She was alone. I am assuming that she was a hooker or at least a stripper over at Lace maybe or something.
Well, Anthony, we're actually known, Davin's is actually known for our investigative reporting, and we did what TMZ could not, and we actually found her. Quintisha Jackson is actually here right now, and she has a few...
I told you not to say my name, dumbass!
I'm sorry, Quintisha.
Oh.
Shit just got real for you. Right, fool?
Hey, I guess, what happened? Well, we got off on the wrong foot, I guess.
Oh, that's right. And I'm back, you motherfucker. White motherfucker, I should have said. I should have stayed and pounded the white right out of you. I told you. I turned you 50 shades of black and blue.
Jeez.
You went off on me on Twitter?
What?
I don't think that's her.
I don't...
What do you mean? Well, you just thought I was a hoe, too, so I don't know what you know, white motherfucker.
Again with the white motherfucker. Jesus. Language.
Well,
Language. Yeah, she brought, and that's the funny part, too. She brought up she brought race into it before I ever did with the white motherfucker line, but, again, that
well, that's because you're a punk-ass bitch. You went off on me on Twitter, well, I'll tore you up a new ass on MySpace.
All right, Quintisha.
What, you calling me a savage? You see a damn spear in my hand? Don't answer that.
All right. You know what? I thought you were going to be respectful to our guest. This obviously did not work out.
Oh, come on. We could get along, him and me. I know he just wanted to take a picture of me so he could go home and take a look at my black fine ass. He and I could get along really good because, we both hate Jews.
Okay. Well, everybody hates Jews. Anyway.
Well, there's no argument here.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Quintisha. Anyway, let's move along. Sorry about that, Anthony.
Hit me up later.
Listen, every contract for entertainers, not every, most contracts, have morals clauses. Was there anything about racially charged conversations in your morals clause?
No, in there, no, not that I think a lawyer can interpret anything as anything, as far as some disparagement or defaming the company. But I think that really, when they put that in a contract, I really think that means you can't get on a street corner with a bullhorn and talk about how shitty the company is. I don't think it has anything to do with your own personal opinions off of their airwaves. Because honestly, I mean, there are certain religious ideologies that some people find offensive. That if I did that on my off time, would I be held responsible in the eyes of the company for that, or any other ideology they don't believe in or think? What if my religion made me against homosexual marriage, and off the air I posted some tweets that seemed offensive in that respect? Would they then fire me because of that?
Perhaps.
I don't know, but I don't think there's anything in that they could legally put in a contract that really covers this area.
Well, Opie said when he went on to the show, when they did the first show, Opie with Jim, he said that Sirius says they fired you because of the wishing of harm. Like, and you had some things where you said you hope she gets shot, you hope she get beaten up, whatever, which is understandable. You were just assaulted. I could understand that. But that was supposedly the part that upset Sirius. And oops.
The violent tone of these tweets is
and you didn't even use cap locks, which that
yeah, exactly. The real irony here is the fact that in real life, in that moment, I reacted with zero violence.
Exactly.
I literally had the power to take a life. I reacted with zero violence, not even a shove. And on Twitter, my tone, they said, had a violent tone because I had said, I hope a homeboy blows her brains out. Now, if she stepped up to some gentleman that might not have been as nice as me and started smacking him in the head, perhaps he would take that the wrong way and shoot her in the face. I wouldn't have had a problem if somebody at some point in her life would do that. And I stated that on Twitter. For some reason, that's a violent tone. Does that make it seem like I have this proclivity toward violence because I said that, when in essence I was there in real life and reacted with zero violence? It makes no sense. We're in a world where symbolism is held above substance, and real-world actions aren't as important as things you say, sometimes in the privacy of your own home. We're in a weird, backwards, bizarro world.
Well, I see.
Really are.
I look at that because I agree with you. It's like, well, when you were actually in the moment, you couldn't have been any more passive. So I don't buy what they told Opie. I'm guessing they haven't given you a reason. To me, I've said all along, to me, this seems like a business decision for whatever reason. Because, like, a week before, they hired Tim Sabian, who was brought in to run your channel. That was their big gun. You know, he had run the Howard Stern networks, and he was brought in to run your channel. This guy, was an icon within Sirius XM. They release him, and then, like, a week later, this happens, and it was almost like you gave them the excuse to get rid of you, because, quite frankly, you and Opie are some of the few highly paid talents over there. Do you think this was a business decision?
Well, you know what? It's a viable thought. I mean, I know the people that took over Sirius, the company that took them over about a year or so ago. They're not a creative radio company. They don't know what their product even is, as far as, they look at a show like the Opie and Anthony Show, and it costs this much to put that show on this channel. And then they look at like 60s on 6. And someone will sit there and go, why does this channel cost so much more than this? Why don't we just put another decade on this channel, and that'll be cheaper? Because that's what this company does. It goes in, it buys companies, it strips them down, and then it sells them at a profit. They don't know about the talent end of it and what's actually going out over the air, and I don't think they really care about it. So if it was a cost-cutting move in that way, then they're going to get a real surprise, because exclusive content is all they really have to defend against things like Spotify, Pandora, and a lot of the podcasts that are out there, because that's exclusive content. You can't just make up a talk show. It's got to be people that have the ability to do the show. You can't just pop it on like you can a 70s, 80s, or 90s music channel. If they don't know that, they're going to get run over by a lot of these online music providers that are completely available in cars now through your phones, and apps that are directly in the cars now. They're going to run out of steam. And considering, you can't just go to the transmitter on the hill and turn a few screws when something goes bad, because their shit's in outer space. they should really consider what they're putting out over the air.
There's a part. All right, so they're not going to send NASA. We don't have a shuttle. Joe's very upset about that.
We can't even hitch a ride with the Russians now.
Joe, please spare us from your act.
I just made a comment. It was ironic. I said I'm not going for the joke.
I don't hate you. I hate myself for setting you up.
I think you did not set me up because that's the only way to get into space now.
I know. Well, there's the
so
other
I left
ones.
the joke there. It's not huddle the time.
All right. There's a part of me that says, on the off chance, if this was not a business decision, that if Patrice O'Neal was still alive, they may not have fired you. And I say this because you and Patrice, who is an African-American comic, had some epic, honest, verbal battles about these type of race religion. But there was a respect and a love that you guys shared.
Oh, yeah.
And for 2 years since his passing, there's really been nobody on your show to consistently give you that point of view, to battle you point for point. And I feel like that kind of hurt you in this case. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it hurt me personally because I used to love sitting there and hashing it out with Patrice. He was one of the most brilliant people I knew, one of the funniest comics. But the thing that it was about Patrice and me having these racial discussions, when somebody comes in now, and let's say they're a liberal or a black guy comes in and we start talking about race, I sit there and go, okay, here comes this agenda-driven line, or that one, I heard that before. Patrice would hit me with something where I'd be like, holy shit, that was so out of nowhere. Like, I didn't see it coming. I couldn't predict, like, oh, here's the ordinary line that I usually hear when I say this. And he'd turn it around, and it was just a brilliant way to have an open and honest discussion about racial issues with somebody, not just the pat same, here's his side, here's his side, we all know what they are, and we're going to discuss it. And I missed that the most when he used to come on the show and do that. It was fantastic.
I just think that that was your perfect sparring partner, and it was able to let you flesh out what you would really think. I know you love Twitter, but Twitter just does not give you that capability to do that.
Twitter is not. You get a lot of people that just don't know how to read Twitter. It's it is hard. You sometimes you have to look at. You could read somebody's comment on Twitter and you go, "Wow, that's odd," or "That's offensive," or "That's whatever," and then click on their name and read back a few of their tweets. Read like a month's worth of their tweets or a couple of weeks, and you'll kind of get more of a line on what they meant in that last tweet. But people don't want to do any research anymore.
That's
true.
So
they look at it for face value, interpret it however the fuck they want, don't add a dash of sarcasm or anything else that might change the meaning of the tweet, and then just lose their shit over it.
Well, I mean, Anthony, to be fair, in that moment, the days that followed the assault, and those particular tweets, and I know in the past you have talked about this, but in those tweets, I don't think there was a ton of sarcasm in most of those tweets. I mean, to me,
it wasn't, but it was also pretty much my party line on what I'm talking about racial issues and some of the hypocrisies that are going on. But like I said, I did those the same time I was voicing my anger about what had happened to me when I was taking those pictures. So, people got a little confused, let's say.
Well, see, I've hung out with you. So for you to see savage and animal used in tweets, I know those are words you use often, when you're describing stories. I don't think these people should have jumped to conclusions, but you're right, people like to do that. But that's probably why they see savage animals and don't know that Anthony Cumia uses these words frequently in talking about a whole multitude of things.
Yeah, now I got a quick question. In light of this whole apology-driven culture that we have, in light of your situation, Ant, do you feel there's going to start to be pushback where people are just going to be fed up and stop apologizing and start to have pushback against all these groups that are offended?
Yeah, I would hope so, and I kind of feel that there's this unspoken disgust with the whole thing that's just under the surface right now. People are getting really tired of it. I don't think people enjoy walking on eggshells when they're trying to discuss something openly and honestly, and with real feeling and human emotion, how could that be bad in any way? No matter how offended you are by what someone says, how could an honest opinion of somebody's, regardless of the content, how could that be a bad thing? It either exposes somebody to be the buffoon they are, or it opens up an idea that you might not have had about a certain subject. But it can't be something that you look at and go, oh, my God, shut that down. We never want that person to be heard again. How dangerous is that?
We're all on the same page with that.
But you hinder that. You hinder free speech. You hinder the basic...
But, Joe, hold on. Joe, we were just on opposite sides of this last week, you and I, over that Lawrence Campbell memorial page, which we all hated.
Yeah.
Which we all hated the message behind. But I was the one saying, as much as I hate this page and what it stands for, free speech and my passion for freedom of speech makes me have to defend this being allowed, and you were against me.
I was against it because it was at the expense of a cop being shot.
But you were saying morally wrong. But I'd love for Anthony to speak on this. Anthony, in my mind, freedom of speech means even if you find it morally reprehensible,
exactly,
you have to allow it.
Here's what I thought about that situation. I saw on the news the memorial. I listened to the people being interviewed that were standing by this memorial and praising this criminal that, thank God, won't have to take up a jury's time. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it and said, yeah, I hate that. I wish someone would drive by there and blow their brains out. All that stuff that you think as a human being emotionally. Mm-hmm. But logically, you have to look at it and think, all right, this is going to be seen by sensible people. And they're going to look and say, these people are assholes and morons. So, yeah, it almost does better to let them express themselves like that. Just like the Baptist church.
Westboro? Westboro Baptist Church.
With the signs that they hold up at the funerals and all those things. It exposes them for being the morons they are. They have the right to express themselves. And I can't even say that I'm not a Vulcan who could just sit here and think, well, you're going to be pissed. You're going to want and wish they'd shut him down, or someone would come up with a car and run him over, whatever. But the truth of the matter is, we need that. We need that type of exposure to offensive things.
I agree.
But they really do exist. No amount of silencing these people is going to stop the actual thought process and human emotions from happening. So it's much better to expose it, get it out there, let people see it, let people discuss it, see how many people really are on board with it, and then you might realize, wow, there really aren't that many assholes in the world that believe this, that, or the other thing. It helps the community, and it helps in the long run. It helps civilization. You grow as a people the more ideas, good or bad, that get thrown across your transom,
We're lockstep in that.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that when you have somebody present an idea to you that you have this strong feeling that is not what you're about, it actually helps crystallize what you do feel passionately about.
Yep. And then you can have discussions about it, and there's nothing bad about opening up an idea, good, bad, whatever. You open it up, it opens it up to discussion, you expose it, you build off of it, whatever. Silencing it is the worst possible reaction in this society that's supposed to be free and open.
I'm with you.
Wanting people fired and silenced, and you shouldn't say that, and making people publicly apologize for saying or thinking things. It's the most bizarre turn of events I have ever seen as a broadcaster. Mm-hmm. I never thought I'd see this happen to this extent, where it's a virtual witch hunt for people to be offended. People are clamoring to be offended.
Oh,
Where's
God,
something to offend me? I need to be offended. Is it here? Let me tune here. I'll read this, that. There it is. Thank God I'm offended. Oh, good. Now I can go out and, it makes no sense.
But like like I said earlier, it transcends. I mean, we're all entertainers, so it transcends that to people that are plumbers, that are people that are secretaries, that they say one wrong thing and it could cost them their job.
Mm-hmm.
And there's got to be pushback on this. It's just getting to be too much. It just kills free speech.
Speaking of jobs, Jim and Opie retain theirs, which I found surprising because I kind of figured, well, if this is a business decision and this is a cost-cutting move, just be done with the whole thing. Were you surprised?
No, not really. I think it's and this anything I have to say about them, their contract or Sirius is pure speculation because I just don't know what's going on the inside over there. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they really had a right to fire them. I think they think if I sue them, let's say, for wrongful termination, and I win, and they would have let go Opie and Jimmy at the same time because they were legally able to, then they would have been able to sue for wrongful termination. So I think they were, kind of splitting up their eggs there as to not put them all in the proverbial one basket. Other than that, I don't know what they're going to do come October when the contract's up. Assuming Sirius acts like I think they will, I don't think they're going to be very generous.
No, I don't think
re-sign them.
I don't think Opie's going to get the same contract that you guys.
Yeah,
got
I don't think I would have if either one of them would have been fired when October rolled around. I don't think I would have gotten the same deal either. It's a corporate move to go in and say, hey, we paid for this, and now it's this.
Right.
So we're going to give you this. And, it's up to them at this point what they want to do as far as pursuing something different in the future or making some kind of deal with Sirius. I love those guys. I support them 100%.
There's not a little
whatever they do. I've had 20 amazing years with Opie and not much less than that with Jimmy.
But
also,
I mean,
and they're just we've had great times. They're great guys.
I got to ask you. I know you love these guys.
I give them the best.
I know you love these guys, but we've all been kicked out of whether sports teams, athletes get traded and everything, and they say the right things. I got friends over there. I wish them nothing the best. Still, the human part. I mean, I know if it was me, being completely honest, there'd be a part of me go, I hope these motherfuckers fail. Is there any part of that?
I'm sorry, that's that's white motherfuckers.
Sirius XM would feel some pain because of what they did,
right?
Letting me go.
Yeah.
And from the amount of subs that I know they've lost, and from the amount of sponsor money that I know they've lost because of firing me, I do kind of go, hey, that's kind of nice. And part of it is because I think the fans showed so much support for me and the show, the Opie and Anthony Show, that they were very angered by this, and they responded with their money by pulling it from Sirius XM, and a lot of them subscribed to my show. So I couldn't be happier with the fans and the way they came to the table on this whole thing.
Now there was somebody at Sirius who was not supportive. He actually said that Opie should have walked out of the show. This, of course, is, as you know, Howard Stern.
Oh, Howard!
What would you now that you're unshackled, uncensored? What would you say to Howard?
I would say, if you listen to my show Monday, you'll hear that.
You son of a bitch! With
nicely played.
I can't give it all to you, Davin.
You can't blame me for trying. You would have done the same thing.
And when will that promo video that we shot Sunday be released?
Yeah, that I think Keith had sent it over to the tech team, and I guess they're putting it up ASAP. We're running another test tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Nice.
Tomorrow we're going to test out a few more of the servers, have people jump on, and we're also going to be testing out the phones and Skype. So any listeners that want to pop in on that, we'll give you all the information that you're going to need. I'll be tweeting that tomorrow. And those tests have been pretty fun. They last about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes, make sure everything works. We get a bunch of people in there, take a lot of phone calls, pop up some video behind me, and just, screw off a little bit and make sure the equipment works for Monday.
Great.
Now, Joe and I periodically have talked about when you were on the show, the Opie and Anthony Show. I'd go to Joe. I go, Joe, I don't feel like they're pushing the way they used to push. And Joe would always say, well, these guys are hamstrung. The lawyers at Sirius are not letting them do what they want to do. But then Opie went on the air again the first day back and said the lawyers at Sirius have never restricted what content we could bring to the air. So were you restricted?
I'm trying to think what he might have meant by that, because as far as content goes, we've never been told we can't address any subject matter on that show. They never came to us like that. They did come to us and say we couldn't do certain things as far as nudity went and sexual content, things like that. They absolutely put a restriction on. We weren't doing as much of that anyway, but I think the biggest restriction wasn't legally. It was just managerial. People dropping the ball as far as us wanting to do events, sales not really pushing and selling these events that we wanted to do, like the second animation festival we wanted to do. We had a giant cruise planned that we wanted to promote for a year in advance and get literally a cruise ship full of fans and comedians and bands and go from Miami to the Bahamas and back and just tear it up with like 5,000 fans. And this was a viable thing. The people behind it were proven. They had done our comedy tour a few years prior to that. And these are the events we wanted to do. We were stopped at every turn by management and budget issues and this, that, and the other thing. Meanwhile, they could pop the old 6-0 candle on Howard's birthday cake for $2 million or whatever the fuck that cost. And then we're sitting there in the studio every day not being able to really push. And that, I think, slowed us down and made us complacent as far as what we wanted to do. I honestly believe we were still doing the best talk radio show out there. But as far as getting out, doing events, involving the listeners and fans in certain things, we had been curtailed as far as that goes. That's something that I'm going to run with this show. We're doing bar events again, bands, comics, girls, giving away T-shirts and merch in the clubs with a bunch of listeners hanging out, drinking, having fun, like the old Bar 9 days foot. Remember that, man?
Oh, God, I can't wait.
To go there and
Rock Gut'll be,
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Joe's looking forward to putting on the old dress and playing again.
Yes. Looks like I'll be a single man. Looks like I'll be a single fella. Looks like I'll be a single fella for some of this stuff.
We're going to get a booze cruise together. We're in touch with somebody that I've gone on many booze cruises around Manhattan with, and get a bunch of listeners on a boat and just, hang out, go around Manhattan, drink, and have fun.
Right on.
Back to having some fun, getting listeners involved in the actual broadcast part of the show and involved in extracurricular activities with the show. This is the shit that just stopped happening. And it was some of the stuff that I just found really fun to do.
But see,
so, we're going to be doing that again.
Since I've known you, and this wasn't always evident on the show, but since I've known you, you've really gravitated towards political talk. That seems... Yeah. And I this has just been my own theory, but I've surmised that when your contract runs out, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm assuming they're still paying you. But when the contract runs out...
No, they're not, by the way.
Bastards. Bastards!
But they'll hear about that.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Restitution.
I've kind of surmised that. I go, what would be great for Glenn? I think it would make perfect sense for Glenn Beck to snap you up for his network.
For the Blaze over there?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think of that?
You know what? Honestly, I love the idea of political talk radio and television. But the fact of the matter is, it's so oversaturated right now, and it's not 100% me. It's part of me, and I will absolutely incorporate it into the show, but I like the just being an asshole portion of it, too, which you really can't do.
Have you heard Hannity?
I knew you were going to say.
But you can't.
Reasonable facsimile thereof.
How did he rush?
I mean, like, really kind of going a little off the edge sometimes with maybe a little sexual content.
Right.
Some comedy, parody, guests that might not fit into a political talk show, things like that. I think, as a matter of fact, I think Red Eye on Fox is a good example of a show that handles real topics with respected, smart people, but keeps it fun and funny and goes off the edge. And it's a fun show to do.
Well,
that,
Anthony,
I think, is very rare.
Anthony,
that's where I kind of want to take this.
I have to be honest with you. I've been watching a lot of Fox News, and I find all their programming hilarious. So
I bet you do.
Today was the best morning ever. Kilmeade and Ducey were going at it over the merits of the Pharrell song "Happy." Ducey was like saying it's one of the best songs over the past couple of years.
There you go. You know what? It's nice to see that even a hardcore liberal can't stand watching MSNBC either.
well, they got a Republican running the morning show. How can I watch that? And even I can't stand Mika Brzezinski, so listen, I'm even out on her.
But that Reverend Al is funny.
Oh God!
See, you like to paint me as a liberal, but I don't like Reverend Al either. I mean, I don't like any of this stuff that's too much.
Did you see that video of him with all of his flubs on the teleprompter? It's hilarious.
No.
Put in Reverend Al's teleprompter flubs.
Uh-huh.
There's 2 volumes of it out there now. Read off of that teleprompter, and it's hysterical. It's really good.
Nobody manipulates him or his family.
Nobody manipulates me and my family.
He sucks. Are you nervous at all about going solo? This isn't something you've done.
That's actually a pretty good question. I don't think it's nerves as much as there's an anticipation, some anxiety about doing this. Whenever I'd come down here for the Compound Show, when I was still with SiriusXM, I didn't give it one thought. I came down, a beer in my hand, I flipped on the equipment and was on. And now that it's my job, there is this weird kind of, all right, I got to make sure I do this, that, like there's an organizational thing, and I want it to be really the best it can be, which I always just had fun with it, and I still will. And this, to me, is the most fun thing I can do right now. But there's this underlying tension that I really want it to work. I want it to be successful, and I'm going to give it my best shot. We've built this up in 1 month from just having the equipment to making a real show. And having the real logistics in place to broadcast this in true HD video, streaming video, without glitches, clipping, pixelation. It looks amazing. It sounds amazing. And I honestly think the content will be amazing, and people will like this. The visual aspect of it gives me so many more options to put things up there, comment on them, the way we conduct interviews. So much of the technology is there, and I really want to take it to that umpteenth level of video podcasting that isn't just the face in front of the microphone, the other face in front of the microphone, and you're doing a show. I'm taking it out to the bar with a couple of lav mics where I could sit with a guest that way. Out by the pool, the table out back full of all the comics while we sit around, while maybe some girls are lounging on the floaties out in the pool. Just taking it out of the traditional podcast microphone talk atmosphere and having fun with it, mixing it up. The movie theater, pop a movie on in the background and just talk with somebody while we talk about a movie, talk about the person that's in the movie. It'll bring up opportunities to talk about how it was to work with somebody. Just throwing a bunch of ideas out there based on what I can do around my own house, using it as a multiple set complex.
Yeah, some of the ideas that were being thrown around Saturday, I mean, were absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, we sat down, me, Joe Curry, Carlton was here, a bunch of my buddies just sitting around bullshitting about what we can do. And the bottom line is we can do anything visually. It's amazing what we can pull off with this equipment. And then to have these guys with the ideas, just funny, talented, clever people to come up with these ideas, I can't wait, man. It's just
there's one I can't wait to
really
do.
Fun. I'm really excited about this.
Anthony, I want to take credit. I want to take a little bit of credit for something, because years ago, when we used to do our show live from the compound, we actually did a multi-camera shoot. We actually turned your basement into a dojo. So we've done that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's laughing again because he remembers how I almost broke my hand.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I forgot about that. I forgot we did
out
that.
There is very handy. We used to do drunk karaoke out there, and there's just plenty of opportunities to make it where it's not the normal just microphone and faces broadcast.
But
if you're going to have video, I figure we should do something with it instead of just broadcasting a radio show.
But Opie speculated on the air that, because people asked, are you and Jim, talking to Opie, you guys going to join Anthony at his home at the compound and everything, do the show there after October and everything. And Opie speculated it would be hard to be able to do it there because you're not actually in Manhattan, and it'd be hard to get the type of guests that you're used to getting. Is that a concern?
Yeah. Yeah, that obviously was a concern about getting guests out here, but I got car services that work for me, and we could have someone out here, or also if there's a viable, good guest that I really want to talk to, I could go to the city and do it there. I got an apartment in the city, or any place really. I kind of do want to mix it up and do different locations. So it's doable. It's doable.
So now to be clear again, you got a whole team now working. So it's not going to be like the old live from the compounds, or when we used to be there, where there was a technical glitch, and all of a sudden Anthony was rooting around in a box of wires trying to make everything work.
Yeah, we actually have a tech team, and making sure everything is working the way it's supposed to.
That's got to be comforting.
And, hey, can I get a beer?
Aunt, get me one too. Oh, I forgot. I'm not there.
No, you forgot. You don't drink on the air. We found that out at the compound too.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Doing afternoons again, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern is just I could sleep.
Yeah.
And then I could maybe pop a beverage or two during the show, and then I'm done. And there's still time to go out to dinner or something. That morning show grind with the hours it's crazy for that long. We were doing it, was it over 10 years? About 10 years. And it's crazy. It literally starts driving you crazy, the hours. So I'm kind of psyched about that. And also, I'm doing Monday through Thursday, but Friday, maybe 2 weeks in advance, I'll start promoting a big Friday event.
Oh.
And that'll be kind of a pay-per-view thing where the subscribers will get it for free. They're already subscribed. And your random person that wants to listen in but maybe isn't a subscriber yet can check in and pay per view for that show. And it'll be, 55-gallon drum challenge out by the pool, cherry darts down here at the bar.
That sounds refreshing.
Theater night in the theater. One of these big events will do like a pay-per-view event.
What do you think is going to be the one thing for people that followed you with the Opie and the Anthony shows, your live from the compound shows? What do you think, like the hardcore Anthony fan, what do you think the one thing is going to really surprise them about the Anthony Cumia show?
Wow, that's good. I'm trying to really think about that. Surprise them? In all the years I've been on radio, I've been pretty open and honest about everything. We get those slow days, let's say, where there's not much in the news, and that's when you got to rip your guts out and start putting yourself on the air.
Which are some of the best shows.
Yes.
That's over the course of so many years doing radio, you realize you've exposed every facet of your sick, perverse life to the listener. So as far as surprises go, I'm not sure, but I think as far as the show goes, probably how much I'll be able to yap in 2 hours about things. I mean, I'm really psyched. There are stories that are breaking today, yesterday, the day before, the past week that I'm chomping on. I want to talk about the Jesse Ventura story today, how he sued Chris Kyle's wife and her estate for defamation. And today it settled. The jury came in and awarded him $1.8 million from a dead soldier's wife.
Oh, my God.
Is it an abomination? I want to be on now to talk about that.
Well, you could give your thoughts if you want right now.
Wednesday.
I gotta tune in.
Monday, excuse me.
Monday, yeah.
Stupid.
So we
it might take till Wednesday to get to it.
So we assume Keith the Cop will be keeping you on schedule since that's not your strength.
Yeah, exactly. There are going to be certain things that Keith. Well, he's got the little calendar board up here on the wall with things written in it, and he's been very good with keeping me organized. Like today, we had a meeting with the fine people at Pal Talk. So we met with them. Mm-hmm. And then we had to run out and get ourselves a post office box. And then we had to have some phone meetings with the sales staff.
It's almost like you've gone legit.
There's been a lot of things where he's like, wow, you're out of the house the second time of the day. He's very surprised. So, he's definitely keeping things moving in a forward motion, yes.
Speaking of a forward motion, either in the near future, actually in the near future, before October, are Jim and Opie allowed to come down and do a show with you?
They have an open invitation for any time they can or want to come down here and do whatever shows they want to do.
Do you think Sirius would let them?
But whether they are allowed,
right.
I have no idea.
That is going to be very interesting.
A lot of stuff as far as our contracts go, a lot of stuff seems to have changed over the past few months, let's say, where certain things started being allowed, other things weren't. They started getting lenient on certain things, tighter on others. So whether they would allow that, I'm not sure. Again, I guess that matters. What matters as far as that goes is their motives for October and their contracts.
So say at the end of October, Opie and Jim don't re-sign for whatever reason. They're not offered a contract. They don't want to. Has there been discussions? Has there been thoughts where you would want to, reunite the team, or you want to do this solo thing for a while?
Well, regardless of anything that comes up, I'm going to do this. This is 4 to 6, Monday through Thursday. Regardless of what we do, I'm going to do this. So I'm not going to be available to do anything else during this time. If there's some option to do a project earlier for a couple of hours, mm-hmm. I'd be fine with that. I would love to work with Opie and Jimmy again, of course. It was just a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah, well, we can tell.
I would love to do that. But again, I am really pushing doing this, and this is kind of the number one priority right now.
Well, it's funny you mention priorities, because this is not. When I met you, this was something a couple of years ago. This is something that you had envisioned doing your own thing and everything. And the reason Davin then started going to the compound was because you wanted to build a channel. Things change. You got busy. Didn't happen. We couldn't go out there all the time. Is that a thought in your head to build up from the Anthony Cumia show and then have other shows on your network?
Yeah, the first and foremost thing here is to get this show up and running and successful. Mm-hmm. The natural progression, of course, would be to add other shows to a compound network. Mm-hmm. The Anthony Cumia show, and then other shows on the Live from the Compound network would absolutely be the next step. Right. But right now, it's like the SimCity games. You can't build too many buildings too quickly, and you got to build a few to get the people to live there, so they have the green exclamation points over their head and not red, and then you build more, and there's a finesse to this whole thing.
I like how we're dancing around this whole thing. Like, what can we be on?
No, I was not intimating that at all. Joe, we've talked about that. But seriously, all kidding aside.
What about me, Fred?
Me, boss.
I actually have a question.
Yeah, that's the natural progression, but right now I'm not even thinking about that. But in the future, that obviously is.
You forgot your floor.
Pip has a question from the chat room. One of the fans wants to ask you a question.
Uh-huh. Yeah, one of our friends and a big fan of yours, Trucker Tom, asked, is there going to be an Android or iPhone app by the time the show starts, or are you working on that at all?
By the time the show starts. Again, putting this together in really a month has been unbelievable, and the tech team is fantastic. But to get this running and have an app is really impossible. But very shortly after, within at least a few weeks or a month out, we will have some type of app rolling out, and then we'll cover all formats of phones with these apps. So. Yeah, that's another thing. We're definitely going to be on top of that.
All right, this is my last hard-hitting question, then I'll be done. At your 4th of July compound party, there was a very large man who you did not know who was splashing around in your hot tub at 4:30 in the morning, which we are told you were not very pleased with. Why do you think Joe Curry invited him?
Yeah, that seemed to be the question of the evening. There was a giant man. He was in a little flimsy seat, and he was almost completely naked, passed out.
Oh, and
he
we
had,
missed it.
Just little shorts on or something. And we finally, I don't know how we hadn't noticed him.
He was in a hot tub. I was in a hot tub.
Yeah. So I started going, hey. I go, who invited you? And he just kind of turned and grumbled, Joe Curry. Oh, man, and we started ripping Joe apart.
As well you should have.
Why did you invite this fat bastard?
Yeah, and he's yelling at me. I'm like, look at this. Where am I going to find a steak truck on a holiday? I didn't bring him here.
You got an SUV. He could fit.
Not really.
That was funny. And then it turned out Joe didn't actually bring him, but I don't know why the guy out of nowhere just threw Joe under the bus.
Oh, I was mortified. And the whole Sunrise Club is in the pool, all 12, and they're looking at me.
Once again, that tells you about this person when he thinks the best option is dropping Joe Curry's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Well, he knew, hey, I'll take the friend Anthony's had the longest here.
Yeah. It's never like never a big agent going, who should be on the next comedy special? Joe Curry. No, it's some blitzed big fat guy in a chair at the compound.
Know your audience, Joe.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. One more time. When does the Anthony Cumia show air? How can people hear it? How can they subscribe?
Go to anthonycumia.com. You just sign up, subscribe right there. It's very affordable. There are monthly, 6-month, and 1-year subscriptions, and the monthly it gets cheaper, And the 1 month is only like $6.99. What a bargain!
A bargain,
unbelievable. It's 2 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. With specials on Friday thrown in there once every month or a couple of 6 weeks, doing special shows. You just got to go to anthonycumia.com. It's going to be a lot of fun, very different, and I very kind of, I dare say, groundbreaking. Yes.
So this is not going to be like Live from the Compound, because Live from the Compound was basically a lot of gun talking, taking calls from your fans. This is going to be a little different.
Yeah, that's going to be an aspect. The Live from the Compound show is kind of an aspect of this, but it's not all of what it is. That's going to be kind of part of it, because I do enjoy mouthing off about things I'm passionate about and taking phone calls, but there's going to be a lot of other things going on, and like I said, I'm very excited about it. It's going to be cool.
Anthony, we're excited for you. We know this is going to be a success. We're going to be listening. We encourage all of our fans to listen. Anthony, thank you again for taking your time to hang out with us.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, pal, man, everyone.
And good luck with this.
Sure. All right, man. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, dude.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Later, man.
That was great.